I love a bit of laughter.
Definitely. And that was our opening line. So how wonderful is that? Good evening and welcome to everybody for another of our wonderful Spiritualism Lyceum nights. We've got a super guy for you tonight. I know I say this about all my guests that we have, and we're so blessed to have so many. But Martin J. Smith, going by your name badge.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Lovely to be here. Thank you very much. And good evening, everybody. I can't see who's on, but good evening anyway.
Now, this is the wonderful thing about this platform. When we're doing the discussions, people will comment on the side, saying hello and asking questions, but you haven't got the distractions that Zoom has.
Yeah.
So I do like these platforms for when we're just talking. Yeah, when we're just sharing information. So, Martin, you're from Macclesfield, correct?
Originally from Macclesfield.
Yeah.
But 2.5 years ago, I ventured into Staffordshire, Stoke-on-Trent. So I live in Talke, which is Talke, it's on the border virtually of Staffordshire and Cheshire. So yeah. So not ventured that far, probably about 16 miles from Macclesfield.
Yeah, but up north, that's quite a journey, isn't it? Because I've got some really good friends up there, and I know there's this sort of like strange territoriality, you know, like the other street is like, what are you doing here?
yeah. Going up to Macclesfield, yeah. All that way.
Wonderful, and thank you very, very much for gifting us this time with you tonight. You've got a very interesting story to you, because something you said that I was totally unaware of on your career path, if you would, or if you were able to expand on that, pre coming into spiritualism.
Oh, right, certainly. Yeah. I was a police inspector in Cheshire Police. Yeah, which is probably a strange transition from police inspector to spiritualist, but there you go. Yeah, I was between 23 and 24 years in Cheshire Police. I've got to say, made my way up to I wouldn't say the dizzy heights at all, because you can go a lot further, but I made my way up to police inspector, and was fortunate. I'm going to say fortunate, certainly in today's time, to retire quite early, really, and that opened the door for me to go into spiritualism, because I had this time on my hands, and I say it opened the door for me. I think it opened the door to spirit as well, to direct me, and I must have irritated them, Laurie, at times, because because they give you these little signs, and you think, I should be going there. He'll get this one, surely. He'll get this sign. but we I zigzag. Why go in a straight line when you can zigzag where you're going? So I meandered into spiritualism from being a police inspector. And whilst I was doing that job, I was probably too busy, too preoccupied, I suppose, to delve into spiritualism, if you see what I mean, because it was quite a time-consuming job, really. And some of that time, of course, I was doing shifts as well, which is tiring. And in your spare time, sometimes all you want to do is catch up on your rest and, you know, see your family. So yeah, but when I retired, it opened the door for me, really.
How wonderful! And I fully get that. I'm an ex-shift worker, and I know, and especially at this, well, just coming out during the winter months, if you're on night, you just never see daylight. You know, you live in this semi-twilight, semi-gloom, And sorry, spiritual development and sitting in circle goes straight out the window. It's the first casualty.
And you remember that first sleep after the first night shift, when you kind of, I think it was Edgar Allan Poe said, it's like a little slice of death.
Yes.
I could just feel the tiredness coming over me and waves, and I just zonked out. And then for 2 or 3 hours till I woke up again, that was it. I was just gone, you know.
Yeah, if you could sleep like that now at night, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yes, that would be precious.
So you retired from the police force and then sort of, as you said, meandered your way. I love that expression.
Yeah.
I often think, when I hear knocking from spirit, I think, it's my guides banging their head against the wall over something else I've done, you know?
Yeah. It's about right, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I fully get that. You are a hypnotherapist as well and a Reiki master.
I am, yes. Yeah.
So,
I got, before I retired, actually, I was talking to somebody about Reiki, and something clicked in my mind, and I'm thinking, this sounds interesting, you know, because I've always, even though I said that during the police I didn't really have that much time, I've always had an interest in things. I don't know what the correct word is, slightly left of center, if you know what I mean, that kind of thing, the spooky stuff, if you see what I mean. I suppose, for want of a better word, I've always had an interest. I've always had something just in the back of my mind. Oh, this really interests me, and I started looking up adverts for Reiki training, and this one kept coming up. This particular advert kept coming up, and I'm thinking, yeah. They probably told me 2 or 3 times, this is the one you want to go to. But I kept looking. Anyway, eventually booked it. And the lady that taught me, a lovely lady that taught me, she just happened to say to me, oh, my husband's a trance medium, you know. And of course, then the antennae came up straight away. This is in my zone here. This interests me. And would you mind if I come along and sit in your circle, you know? And it kind of progressed from there. I must have sat in that circle for a couple of years. But the beauty of it was they did spirit-led development exercises. So you've got spirit showing you how to link in with spirit, giving you development exercises, and guided meditation as well. And it just then all started falling into place. And I kept thinking, again, I need to go to a spiritualist church, really, don't I? And it took a while from thinking I need to go in to my wife actually saying to me, oh, they've got an open event, an open day at Congleton Spiritualist Church. Why don't you go? And oh, go on then. Yeah. And we went. And I remember actually saying to him when I went through the door, because I was brought up a Catholic, Roman Catholic, and for want of a better word, I lapsed, if you see what I mean. And it kind of leaves that, I don't want to say a void, but it leaves that thing where you've gone from one thing and there's kind of nothing to take its place. Yeah. But I remember going in thinking, well, I'm not necessarily into all this churchy stuff, but it'd be interesting to, and then I got into all this churchy stuff. And that'll be in the, you'll be able to use that word at Scrabble soon. Churchy. Martin said it's a word.
Scrabble, the northern version.
The northern version with churchy in it. Yeah, up north. And it took off from there, sat in the circle, and I just carried on from there. And I was lucky enough to then, I went to Longton Church, where, I don't know if you know him, but Peter Wilson, who sadly isn't here with us anymore, but he was a lovely man. And he kind of helped me immensely on my way. A mentor, really, and mentor and support. And it just developed. I just kind of developed from there, really.
How wonderful. And as you're talking, you can see it from like the spirit version of how all that was meant to be, from just that drawing of that one advert, going back to, why is that coming up? Oh, all right, I give in. And the doors that suddenly flew open because the timing's right. I often say that with people developing mediumistic skills. In our life.
Just another. Sorry, I'm interrupting you here.
No, you carry on. It's your evening.
I would just say just another interesting thing, because when you look back, you see your path better than when you look forward, because you can see what you've done and what you perhaps should have done. And my time when I was in the police, I did a lot of public speaking, which removed a hurdle for me, so as to speak, when it made it not as big step going on the platform, because that public speaking element of it. I'm not saying I'm good or anything like that. It was nothing to do with that. It was just repetition. You do something often enough, and you get used to doing it, and the fear factor tends to go from it. So it was almost like it was preparing me to go on the platform. And when I look back, I can say, that makes sense now. I can understand this.
Yeah. How so true. So true. I look back on my career path and I go, oh, that's why. Oh, okay.
Why did it take me so long to see it?
Exactly. Yeah. Can I go back to being 21 again?
Yeah. That knocking that you said, their head on the wall.
Yeah.
Our guys will be talking to each other. Yeah. Our guys will be saying, you do that as well, do you?
Yes, I totally get that. And that's quite an interesting little snippet there about the fear factor of getting up on platform, because I know we've got a couple of working mediums within the room tonight watching. I know they'll fully relate, because actually standing up in front of people and understanding fully that duty of that service that you're about to give. I've seen two very good mediums who lacked that part. They physically couldn't do it. One lady, bless her heart, she was such a nice soul. She got up on the platform. 2 seconds later, she was out the door in the toilet throwing up through the nerves. It is. Absolutely.
I'm not saying I don't feel nerves, because I do feel nerves or apprehension. I still do, because let's face it, we're standing up there without a script.
Yeah.
You've been asked to actually stand up there in front of all these eyes looking at you without a script, and you can hear a pin drop, can't you, sometimes?
Yes, very much. Very much. And yes, interesting. Today, I am still nervous when I'm coming to do a service, whether it be now online or in person somewhere. I get very nervous, and people say, what are you nervous about? You do it all the time. And I'm like, no, because every time is like, what is going to go on here? So you went through the Reiki phase. You became a Reiki master. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. And again, I'm enjoying this because we have got parallel experiences here. I started off because I wanted to do Reiki, and then people just kept talking to me while I was trying to do Reiki, which is very distracting, very rude.
I must admit, I've not had that. That's something I've not had, which is interesting. Yeah.
Oh, it's eminently frustrating, because you're really trying to remember all the moves and everything. And you've got somebody saying, "That's my sister," and I'm going,
"Yeah."
What?
I'm trying to think of that symbol.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Reiki symbols.
Where should these be? I have no idea.
Yeah. What was it called now?
Yeah. So, and then hypnotherapist as well.
Yeah. You've only got to mention something to me, and I think that sounds a good idea to have a go at.
Yeah. Got you.
I was again. I did I first off did an online course, and when I did that course, I thought, I'm not really qualified here to should we say mess with somebody's mind, which is technically in a way what you are doing. You're going into the mind. You need to know what you're doing. You're dealing with somebody's subconscious. So it's important. So anyway, I went on a classroom based course. Well, it was a classroom course, not classroom based. It was a classroom course for hypnotherapy. And I've done add-ons to that as well. Done regression. I even did hypnobirthing, which is hypnotherapy that you use for childbirth. I've got to say I've never used it, but I did do the learning for it, and say the regression and the progression side of it as well. It's a very interesting subject to get into.
Yeah,
actually. And you get to know how the mind works, and you get to know your own mind works, I suppose, to a certain extent, if you see what I mean. You get to find out, I suppose, the things that may limit you, because we all have, to a certain extent, some kind of limiting beliefs, and when you can overcome the things that limit you, I suppose, to give you a perfect example, and this is just a general example, in 1954, it wasn't me then, by the way.
Are you sure?
In 1954, a certain gentleman called Roger Bannister ran the sub 4 minute mile. And what happened after he did it? Other people started doing it, because that limiting belief had gone. So people actually thought, yeah, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. And I'm sure plenty of people will have been told at some stage, you'll never be able to do this, all that. And it's surprising how these can get absorbed into people's minds, because we're programmed, aren't we? We're programmed to a certain extent. We're programmed with repetition as well. If the same thing is repeated to us, that's why we say, stand in front of a mirror and say, I love you, and after a bit it will start sinking in. So so it helped me to I suppose understand myself as well, and that's not an easy thing.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Well, they say, don't they? Try walking a mile in their shoes instead, and they say, well, try spending 30 minutes inside my head and see what it's like.
Yes. We've got a comment here from Sister Donna Clements.
Hello, Donna.
Donna does an absolutely sterling job with her husband as part of the team that runs Thundersley Christian Spiritualist Church in Essex. I take it, Donna, that is in relation to the hypnobirthing. That's when that comment appeared. Right,
because I wasn't sure about that. Yeah, I've never done it, and probably will never do it.
Right. So just remember from that comment from
it helps in the early stages only. Yeah.
A first stage user, quickly go in and then run.
Yeah. Say, I've done my bit now and leave somebody else to it.
Yeah. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yes. Donna said yes. Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
We also have the lovely Fiona Parry-Doddin, who is a hypnotherapist as well, amongst her many talents. So you've got quite a peer pressure group here tonight, Martin, which is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. I better watch what I say.
Yeah, you better get right.
Yeah.
So you said something about in the hypnotherapy about regression, which I'm familiar with, but you said progression.
Yes, as well as, I mean, these are very moot topics, aren't they? Because people have certain ideas about them, whether we talk about there's age regression, past life regression, again, thing that certainly in the spiritualist churches that's I'm sure there'll be divided opinion over, but future life progression as well, which is interesting. I have to say that was something that didn't really do it for me, but I did the course anyway. But it was something that really, because let's face it, we all have free will. Yeah, we all have that free will. Or we wouldn't get, if we didn't have it, we perhaps wouldn't get into a mess at times, but we've all got it. We've all got it. And this is what I say to everybody. We've all got the ability to change our path. It isn't necessarily set in stone. I mean, I do feel that there's a tendency for certain people to go down a certain path, that you could say there's a likelihood that somebody will go down that path. But there could be something happened. Somebody else's free will could change your free will.
Yeah.
I mean, I never knew, for instance, if somebody would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I never would have thought that I would be on StreamYard being interviewed, or if that, for want of a better word, I would have never guessed that. But there's something intervened in the interim that made it happen. And I could have said no.
You've got Steve and Deb Marriott to thank for that, because they sent me about 58 emails saying, book him, he's really good.
Oh, so, thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yes, from Bognor Regis Church. Yeah,
that's the ones.
Love
that
them.
Is the ones.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah, they're great.
And going still in that energy there with the breather progression, you know, we would all love to know where we're going to be in 10 years' time. We would love to be able to see that. But the actual fact of seeing that could actually thwart that happening. Because if you think, okay, I'm going to see me in 10 years' time. Oh, great. You know, I'm settled down. I'm here. I'm there. And then it stops becoming the adventure, because to me, life is this huge adventure. During this time, so I'm sure everybody, probably across the world, has been taking stock of their lives and looking back at some of the, you know, the peaks and the troughs and some of the awesome things and the, oh my goodness, did I do that? I did. And actually having a good laugh about it, because, you know, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
How wonderful is that? To get here today. So I always say this life is not about the destination, it's about the journey. Every day.
And the very fact of you knowing that could change it, because, you know, I know you said we all would like to look forward 10 years, but perhaps not even, because we might see something that, oh, I didn't expect that. That's not what I wanted. And then we may start trying to do things to change that.
Yes.
If you see what I mean, or it might fill us with absolute fear, which could kind of handcuff us or hamper us for that interim period, you know. And as I say, it's not set in stone, and so I think I would say with any regression, excuse me, with past life, with anything, know what you're going into. A word of certainly a word of caution. There's enough baggage in this life, isn't there, at times?
That's my saying.
Do you know what I mean? There is enough baggage, and I'm really a big fan. Is that the word? Advocate of awareness. Now, because ultimately, this is all we've got. Is the present moment. And if we spend too much time looking forward or looking behind us, we're missing what's going on here. We're missing the now. Imagine trying to drive a car looking in your rearview mirror all the time. It's not going to go very well, is it? And looking forward tends to give you anxiety if you're not careful, because you know, you can imagine umpteen things that can happen. You can't do anything about it because it's in your mind.
Yeah.
And so instead of, and a lot of the things that you imagine will never happen anyway, but you're almost living them in your mind. So I'm really a big advocate of that awareness, that, you know, that going within, because ultimately that's where the divinity is, within us all. And to be able to go within, to find that, you know, to be, just to be. And we do say, don't we, you know, the phrase, I am. Yeah. I am. We always want to put something on the end of it. I am what? What are you? Yeah. Well, I am a pianist. But then what happens when, for some reason, something happens and you can't play the piano anymore? You take away your right. Well, oh right, you've lost a lot then, haven't you? If that's what you base everything on, the I am side of things. And we do tend to do that a lot. We do tend to flag ourselves, tie us into things. I am a medium, or am I a medium, or am I somebody that does mediumship?
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Oh, very, very much. I use awareness, a fairly recent practice for myself to use on me, because I'm one of these people running around after everybody else, and that stops me facing me. And I will openly admit this on air. I don't mind, because everybody does it.
Everybody does it, Laurie. Yeah, everybody. Yeah.
But that awareness, because I was finding, you know, if we had a difficult situation with people, wherever, in whatever part of our life, you know, I'd have 101 rows with that person in my mind before we actually talked. And then 9 times out of 10, when we actually talked, it was sort of like, well, listen, this is going on, you know, and it's really got to stop. Oh, okay. And you feel crestfallen then. You're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah,
I've got every comeback in the book ready here. Come on.
I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this.
Because I am this argument, you know, and it's like, no, actually, I'm not. I made myself this argument.
And the trouble is, you find yourself making up these scenarios in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Donna, you're right. Must try to live in the now. So difficult to shut that thinking mind off. Yeah. And I sometimes do that, you know, and say to people when I do an address, if I'm doing it around the subject of awareness, if I was to say to you, don't think anything now, just don't think. We've probably been about 6 seconds there at the most. And if I left it 10 or 20 seconds, people would be thinking, what's he doing?
Yeah.
What's he doing? What's going on? Oh, I've got, oh, I know I've not paid that bill, have I? Oh, I'm going to have to walk the dog after. and the mind, it was, who was it that said it? Oh, I can't think of his name. Je pense donc je suis. It was the French philosopher. Oh, I know his name, but because we're live, I can't think of his name.
That's all right. It will suddenly pop up in about 3 minutes. Yeah,
I think, therefore I am. You probably would have heard that.
Yeah.
I think, therefore I am. You can almost turn it round the other way, couldn't you? And this is what I got from the trance thing. They said, you should really say, I am, therefore I think. And we do. We think. The mind just races away with things. And I think one of the little secrets is, and I always say everything, this is what I find, because I do believe that we're all different. We're all ourselves. There's not one blueprint for us all. But I feel that if you consider a thought coming in, you've got your choice whether you follow it or whether you let it come when you let it go. A bit like leaves flowing down a river. Just allow them to flow unchanged on it. Yeah, yeah. You can look at the leaves and you'll not see the water if you follow the leaves. But if you ignore them, you start to see the current, the water. It was Eckhart Tolle said that it's like a dog on a lead. After a scent, that thought, if you let it go and follow it, that's it then. But yeah. And he said he likened to it that you thought like a dog on a lead, and you follow it. But what I would say is, nowadays we go in within us far less now than we used to. That's my view. Can you remember the beautiful times on a train with the hypnotic sound of the railway? You know, like a hypnotic sound of looking out of the window, and then your eyes almost go glazed, and you kind of go into that hypnotic state, and you kind of go into that peace within. But now that's not there because the phone will be out, won't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do. I'm guilty, you know.
Yeah. Funnily enough, today I went for a walk around the park because we were all getting into walking a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
And I actually noticed that of people. We've got a lovely park down the road. We've got a great big lake there. You've got the swans. You've got everything you want in a park, you know. And it really is. It's lovely. Okay, yeah, it was cold, but the sun was out. And probably about 70% of the people walking through the park were walking at a fairly brisk pace, head down. And I thought, you know, when are we going to... Why are we trying to communicate everywhere else in the world? Why don't we actually communicate here?
Absolutely.
To ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And feel especially in nature, because I feel in nature that while you're doing other things, you kind of miss the sacredness of the now, of nature, because you're doing something else and you're not thinking. And I had this thought that on a guided meditation where is it Henry Bergson? I think you mean that philosopher. No, it isn't. It isn't, but I can't think of his name. Yeah, anyway, I digress. I have the thought, you're taking me on a guided meditation, and here I am trying to imagine myself walking through this forest. And I'm walking through this forest, I'm doing my utmost, I'm trying to smell the trees, I'm trying to feel the bark, I'm seeing the sunlight coming through and dappling on the ground. And when I'm actually in a forest, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for my tea instead. And I'm almost more there, if I'm not careful, when I do a guided meditation than I am when I'm actually in the place. And it's just trying to still that mind and feel the sacredness of God in the actual nature, just releasing that, I suppose, that concept where everything has to have a name, everything, you have to think about everything. It's just feel. Sometimes to feel instead is to, and it's not easy. It's not. Sometimes no. I think I've cracked it. I really do. And then next time I'm walking around with my car keys in my hand looking for them. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think, oh yes, I get this now. I get this. I can do this. But it's like fleeting. But then I suppose the longer I do it for, the more opportunity I've got to develop it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Meditation is such a wonderful tool. It really is. You can just escape. I like short meditations. I've never gone along with a long meditate. I just sit there, and after about 7 minutes, I'm thinking, please stop talking.
Yeah.
Please stop.
There's so many different, well, not different, they seem to be polarized views on meditation. Some actually love it, and others really struggle with it.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's like that. I'm going to go in, do the and it's just become like another job to do. Right, come on, in meditation, right, done that, thank you, out.
Yeah. If I'm not careful, I can actually... René Descartes, thank you, Colin. Yeah, René Descartes, that was the one, the French philosopher. Je pense donc je suis, his discourse of the method in around 1637, I think it probably was around that time when he came up with he didn't know if he existed or not, but he thought, because I can think, I must exist. And that was it's interesting to look into it anyway. And I've just totally forgotten what I was talking about.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah.
It's the meditative side, and just, being able to continue that energy and to bring that in, when you do go outdoors, be able to, I don't want to say switch it on and switch it off. That sounds a little bit dispassionate, but just being able to go, right, I am going to link in with that. But you think about that, we do that with our mediumship. When we as mediums, we're not walking around all the time going, oh, hello, there's a dead person here,
Yeah.
We make that agreement, that commitment with spirit to say
that shift of the mind, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe we can utilize that sort of premise to help us in these meditative moments to say, right, okay, I am going to go into this.
I don't like rules as well.
No, I'm not a good one.
But that's me. And if rules suit and do something for you, that's absolutely fine. But I don't like to think I have to do something at a certain time, because I have to do something at a certain time. I may have had a perfect opportunity 2 hours prior to that I've not taken. So I kind of like to be open-minded, and I think if I'm perhaps having a walk along the canals near me, and sometimes there's nobody there and there's a bench there, and just for 5 minutes I'll just sit there and kind of go into the space within. And there's something special about it outside as well, which I which I like. But in that 5 minutes, it's quite refreshing. I find it so. And it's strange, isn't it, that we call it mindfulness, but really we want to empty the mind, don't we?
Yes, emptiness.
Yeah, a bit of an anomaly there, really, because we want to get that mind emptied.
Definitely.
Yeah, and feel the power, I suppose, of spirit that's around us, and not try too hard.
Yeah, because when we try, we're engaged in the mind.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we try not to do. We're trying to disengage. I work on a theory with my brain. I call it the practice of give the kid a ball to play with. So you give the mind something to focus on, like a candle flame or something like that. And that allows then to work with your higher senses. That works for me, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Absolutely. And it is finding the thing that works for you. I struggle sometimes with long guided meditations, because I kind of lose track and I go off somewhere myself, and also people get different things. Some people come back from a meditation, and when you're in a circle and go around the group, and they've experienced some really out there stuff, if you know what I mean. I'd say wonderful stuff, and I sometimes think, well, I didn't get anything like that. And that's what I say to people. I say, it doesn't matter if you get nothing. In fact, nothing's a good thing. If you can meditate and get nothing, you've done pretty well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't necessarily say, oh, I failed because I've not got this. You know, what am I going to say when it comes round to my turn?
Yeah, quick, make something up.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
When the last person had a dragon or something, and you think, "Oh right, I didn't really have that." What? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have 2 dragons.
Yeah. I'm just sitting there. I'm not. There's anything wrong with seeing that. I mean, it must be wonderful, but occasionally I've come up with something I didn't expect that. But it doesn't matter if you get nothing, and we need to take the pressure off ourselves as well.
Hugely. I sat in circle with many lovely, wonderful, gentle teachers over the year, and one lady very closely associated with the church here, Barbara. I sat in her circle for 4.5 years, and her husband had sat in circle with her for 11, and he never got a thing.
Right.
In 11 years, he never got a thing. But do you know what an amazing spiritual man he was.
Yeah,
he really was. He just always, I can hear it now. What did you get, Eric? Usual.
Yeah.
That was it every week for 11 years. But do you know what, that guy never missed a circle unless ill health intervened. He was there.
He probably got something from it, and other people, I'm sure, got something from him. Because, you see, I feel that mediumship is part of spirituality, not spirituality part of mediumship. And we're here to grow. We're here to grow spiritually. And mediumship is a wonderful gift, and it's wonderful to be able to do it. But it's also wonderful to try to grow spiritually, to be a better version than you were 20 years ago, or be a better version of yourself, because from all the lessons that you've had, to learn from them. And instead of looking back in anger at yourself, thinking, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Just say, oh, that was a lesson. Yeah, I've learned from that. And don't judge yourself from the standards you have today. Just look back and think, I've learned from it, because I wouldn't be here if I didn't need to learn. And to grow spiritually, we often see it to unfold spiritually is a wonderful thing. And if the mediumship is part of it, absolutely fabulous, because you can do wonderful good with it. But it is part of it. And I think it will grow with the spirituality if it's meant to.
Yep. And also our definitions of mediumship. I do have this. Regular people listening will understand exactly what I'm just about to say.
Is it the lecture?
Yeah. Hold on, my soapbox.
Yeah.
Just pull it over. Don't be like that, Martin. I keep saying to people, spiritualism is not about mediumship, of getting on the platform. We're all mediums because we're all spirit. The fact that you don't get the evidential mediumship that you see as, the nadir, the point of excellence, where you can give that piece of evidence. And I'm not decrying that in any way, shape, nor form, because to me, excellent mediumship is brilliant healing for both parties, for the person receiving the message and the person giving the message. But, mediumship is connecting with spirit. We are spirit. So when we have practiced mindfulness, in a way, you are being a medium. You are connecting with spirit. Simple. When we practice healing, we are connecting with spirit. When we practice talking, sharing philosophy, writing poetry, art, homemaking, help in the community, organizing counts, all these things, you can draw on inspiration from spirit, because spirit love us and they want us to be the best that we can. And the only person that stops them achieving their goals,
us.
Yeah.
That's
right. I'll shut up now.
That's wonderfully put, actually. I would add to that as well and say sometimes, somebody doing nothing and being there. Certain people, you can almost feel their energy in the room. And I'm a big fan of White Eagle, Grace Cook, the medium Grace Cook, channeling White Eagle, and I do enjoy reading. I'm pretty sure it was White Eagle that talked about the aura of when you get somebody that would be like an ascended master, you could almost feel their aura miles away. But if somebody is quite an enlightened soul, just by being there, it's almost like where you see the candle that can light the next candle to them, etc., etc., etc. And I did hear that about Gordon Higginson. When he walked into a room, you could almost feel his presence there.
Yeah.
I never met him, and I would have loved to have done, of course I would, but I have heard that about him. So I think sometimes just that positivity, that trust and that confidence and that trust and loving spirit within you is visible to the senses, if you see what I mean. You may not be able to physically see it, but I'm sure you will detect it. Hugely.
I'm very big on at this time is working with the energies of things, and I'm finding this totally fascinating, and actually is driving me slightly scatty, which I was already slightly scatty, so I suppose I'm even further down.
Good place to be.
Scatty, yeah. It's all right, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. It means you're open-minded, doesn't it?
Very much.
And you're prepared to try things and prepared to change, because complacency can be an enemy to a certain extent. Perhaps enemy is not the right word, but if you become complacent, it kind of. One of my favourite principles is eternal progression, open to each and every human soul. And I do think we're here to progress, and I do think that desire to progress is built in us to a certain extent. You even see it on children with playing video games. They want to get to the next level. They don't want to lose at Monopoly. Yes, I know it's slightly more based when you don't want to lose, but it's the same thing. You want to progress. You want to be that better version than you were previously. And you're trying new things, which I think it's wonderful, because it's like you're extending your portfolio of things that you can do. And who knows, when you're doing your mediumship, you may just, I wasn't aware of that before. I can understand that now. I've been using energies, they're making me aware of something. Wow, that's good. Yeah, because that's something you've developed that spirit will think, hang on a minute, we can use this.
Yep. Hooray, he's finally noticed.
He's hooray, he's finally noticed. Yeah. But we've been teaching him all this time, and what's he said? I'm scatty.
But that's interesting, because I do like that allegory with progression, because from a slightly different perspective, but exactly the same theory, exactly the same natural law, it's that life energy. It's always moving, because if you think of it to water is always moving in some form or another. The water that doesn't move, that just sits there, goes stagnant, and nothing happens to it.
I like that.
It supports nothing at all. So life is always this constant motion, and that's great. But we like to be creatures of habit, and we don't want to see change. So change comes along, and it's like that boulder in the river. It's like, whoa, over.
The rut, surprisingly, however uncomfortable, becomes quite comfortable.
Yeah.
We almost become afraid to look over the sides of the rut and see what else we can do, because it's that change that's difficult. And what I like about, in a way, the 7th principle is that, to me, almost everything's in there. Well, it's telling me it encompasses the continuous existence of the human soul, because it says eternal progression. So if I can progress eternally, I must continue. I must. So I continue anyway. So I'm not going to die. So I can continue to progress here. I can continue to progress in spirit too. So there's always going to be plenty. There's going to be no rest for us. There's always going to be plenty for us to do, isn't there? But it would become boring otherwise, wouldn't it? If there was nothing to do, no progression. And I just think that's wonderful that we can know that we can always develop, always improve. And because we can always improve, the things that we've got wrong in the past, that's fine, because that's what it's about. So we now move on and we improve. The only way is up, I suppose. I want to say. Do you know what I mean? And in that 7th principle, there's no fear, is there? There's no room for any fear.
Correct. Yeah.
What are we afraid of?
That actual cinching knowledge of there is no death. And I keep saying this, it's very easy to say, but when you sit there and really weigh up the evidence, everybody just sat there for a moment at home and looked at every piece of evidential mediumship ever that they have received, and with the quantity and the quality of that proof of survival, that's not a process that happens to other people. It's a process that happens to every life force throughout this world, this cosmos, this great field of creation. It's an ever-moving, ever-evolving, ever-shifting energy, and we are all part and parcel of that. Beautiful thought. Martin, you are doing at the moment your platform accreditation scheme, are you not?
I am, yes. I am.
You are. Could you just give an outline of what that involves? Because something that probably a lot of people don't pick up on is when you see people getting up on these platforms, practicing mediumship, there are, all these different areas of spiritualism that provide proper training, proper facilitation, and working to a standard. And I love that. And again, that links in nicely what we were talking about, the eternal progression. So you go from being, I think I've got something, to being able to stand up there and go, do you know what? I know that this lady is saying this to me, and delivering that in a manner and a way. But if you could give us the outline of what you need to achieve on this scheme, please.
Unfortunately, the scheme now has been replaced. So I'm kind of one of the last ones on the PAS scheme. It's now called the TPS one, is it? Tipsy, they call it, because it rolls off the tongue better. But the PAS scheme is, I first did, there was SD1 and SD4, which is just developmental. It's online work. It's not necessarily online work, but you get the booklets through and you answer the questions, etc., on platform. Speaking and development, etc. I'm about to do my platform accreditation towards the CSNU, Phil. Right, brilliant. It's the TPS one you'll probably have to do if you've not already signed up for it. But I actually thought that I'm doing these services anyway. Why should I not go for a qualification? Let's have the qualification and let me learn something. Let me learn, I've always been somebody that's tried to behave professionally. I think the police taught me that, the importance of being professional, of being considering the words that come out of your mouth, actually, as to how those TPS one. Thanks, Phil. As to how those can affect people, as to how those can affect vulnerable people as well, because the people I give a message to at a church, I don't know what their vulnerability is. Very often you look at the clock face, it doesn't show the workings that are going on beneath it, and somebody could be in a very, very vulnerable state. So I have always tried to bring that professionalism in and be careful and compassionate about what I say. But the platform accreditation scheme, it kind of reinforces that things that are acceptable are not acceptable. So a lot about standards, and it actually, I have to do 25 services or 25 addresses and 25 mediumship demonstrations either way. A divine service ticks 2 boxes, and then at the end of that, I then have to sit an exam which would involve, I think it's 10 oral questions on each subject, philosophy, and 10 on mediumship. And then you have to do a 10-minute address and 2 contacts after, and it's a kind of a yes or no. Yeah, you either, but if you fail part of it, you don't have to do it all again. You just do the bit that you fail, if you see what I mean. So,
got you.
But it'd be nice to, because I would like to go to do the CSNU afterwards. I think I would probably stop there, but who knows? Who knows till you get there? But it is nice to have an accreditation, and you can say, yeah, I've done that. I've put the effort in. No pressure, Phil. Absolutely, absolutely. I've already done the mock exam, so yeah, and that gave me an idea where I needed to pick up on. But ultimately, the pressure really is only in our minds, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still there. You still feel it. You still feel it, and yeah. So it'd be nice at the end of the day to get. I'm hoping to actually sit the exam in the next 3 months. I would say I'm hoping to sit it. I'm just ticking off my boxes in the churches, and of course with the lockdown, then go for the DSNU. Yeah. Perhaps not. I know it's tempting, but I kind of address each stage when I get to it. You never say never. Never say never. That's the thing. But yeah. Like I say, it'd be nice to get it. It'd be nice to get the CSN and you as well.
I think I absolutely applaud it. Anybody that I know, there's different thoughts and thinkings about the different branches of spiritualism. Yeah, and I always say this. We've got one thing in common. We're all spiritualists. So just sort of like wake up a bit, you know?
Yeah.
If you don't agree with somebody, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a riot. It doesn't have to be a war. It's only that we make it into that.
Oh, absolutely. Can I just say, you don't have to be disagreeable to disagree.
Ooh. Oh, we like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. My angle on that is about debate. We've forgotten how to debate things to a great deal. Yeah. It's like, no, that's wrong. Energy comes in. It's like, no, hang on. Let's try talking about this. See what happens.
Yeah.
But anybody that brings in these standards, because I was very fortunate in my development that I work with what we affectionately call some right old battle axes. And I mean that hugely affectionately.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
2 of them, they used to frighten the living bejesus out of me. They really did. But because of that, I wanted to not impress them, but I wanted to be that standard that they were pushing me to be. And it worked.
Yeah.
I think. I'm saying it worked, but other people may think differently. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind. But yeah, so anything that actually makes people develop, you know, because I have seen the fallout, shall we say, from circles that the sole intent is a financial proposition. You know, somebody running a circle Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, 15 people per circle at £15 per head. Do the maths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see where that one's going.
Yeah, and they come out and they say, "Oh, but I've sat with so and so." And I'm sorry, but you're not a medium. You know, I don't do prayers, I don't do philosophy, I don't do an address, and I'm like, "Well, you don't do a service then?" Sorry.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that, and it's separating mediumship from spirituality as well, isn't it?
Very much.
It's making it a financial thing, and I don't have an issue with somebody making some money out of something, but when it's the sole driver of it, it doesn't fit quite right, does it? If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it fills people with false hope and false promise. And I think that's the bit that I actually find the most disappointing. You know, that these people are coming out and saying, "But I am this," and you're like, "I'm sorry, but you're a long, long way off."
The one thing I've learned that it's like mediumship is like a flower or a seedling that you water it and grows gradually. It's not something that, in my view, somebody may beg to differ and say it's happened to somebody they know, but it's not something, in my view, where I can suddenly I'm going on a week's course, and then I come back at the end of that week's course and say, I'm a medium. To me, I mean, technically we're all mediums, we all link in with spirit, but to me, it's a growth, and it's that frustrating sometimes.
Oh, very.
The slow growth. I sometimes think, just water me a little bit more quickly, will you? So I can grow. Get that sun on me, so I can grow more quickly. But it's a slow process, a blossoming, and that. Thank you, Phil. And but in its own way, that's good, because you learn there's a responsibility with it as well, isn't there?
Huge.
Yeah, there is a massive responsibility, and people have to know that. They've got to know this responsibility. But it is a slow growth, definitely a slow growth, and you may not notice it at the time, but when you look back, you'll think, I can see how I've I don't know if improves the word. I can see how I've changed. I can see the difference now.
Yeah. Or you get that stuck period.
Yeah.
Where it seems like nothing's happening. And that is so common in development. It's like, why is nothing happening? And then suddenly something will fall into place and it will start rolling again.
Yeah. That plateau.
That's the one. Yes, we love the plateaus.
Or not. Yeah.
Oh, no, definitely not. Martin, sir, you have a piece of poetry that you have written yourself. So to close off tonight, which has been an absolute delight talking to you, and comments coming in full of praise. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's important as well, I would say, before we do to have that upliftment as well, that room for a bit of joy, that room for a little bit, that laughter, because that laughter ups our vibration and makes us happy, doesn't it? And there's nothing wrong with being happy,
Absolutely not.
So and thank you for the comments. Now, over the years I've wrote poetry off and on, but about a month ago I just thought the need to put pen to paper, and this poem that I wrote, it's called No Need for Tears. There is no need for tears. I did not die. So wipe your eyes and do not cry. I close my eyes, but I have not gone. I am here in spirit, and my life goes on. I hear you always as you send out your thoughts. I feel the pain that is in your heart, but know that I am only a thought away. Let that truth and my love take your pain away. I am in the sunlight and in the night sky. My life is eternal, I did not die. So dry your eyes and let go your fears. I am still here. There is no need for tears.
Lovely. Martin, it's an absolutely wonderful evening. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Where is Mr. Shaw's?
It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Phil is an exceptionally gifted trance medium and very closely allied to Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. So
I've got a service booked with Wimbledon very shortly coming up.
Oh, there we go. How wonderful.
Yeah. I may see you there, Phil. And thank you.
No, brilliant night.
I've enjoyed it. My pleasure.
Everybody's thoroughly enjoyed it. Your where you are has evoked quite a few memories in people as well, which is absolutely smashing. And you've reached further afield than the UK as well. How wonderful is that?
Wow. Can I call myself international now?
Yes, you can.
Is that official? Thank you. Yeah. Thundersley. I don't know where. I've never heard of Thundersley. Donna. It's
in lovely Essex.
Oh, right.
Donna and Rob are the figureheads. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh! Send me a message, Donna, by all means. If you do Zoom or online.
Yeah. Yes, they do. They do.
Brilliant. I would love to. Yeah.
Lovely Marion, who's
thank you, Marion.
Kept her light under a bushel. Quite annoyed with Marion. I only found out yesterday she's actually an extremely competent platform medium, and she gave a delightful service last night for East Kilbride.
I'm not told yet.
I never knew she was medium. Yeah. I should have known,
Donna.
shouldn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us out there tonight. If you're live here tonight or watching us on catch up, or indeed these evenings now are also going to be transcribed over to podcast series so that you can take us out and about with you and sit in the beach and listen to my dulcet tones, you lucky people.
And mine.
And Martin's, of course.
Yeah.
Next week, we have a wonderful healer making a return visit to us, Peter Steedman, who will be taking our Spiritualism Lyceum night next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. In the meantime, Martin, again, on behalf of everybody here tonight, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. So refreshing. Really was. Really great energy here tonight.
Thanks for the invite, Laurie, and it's my pleasure, absolutely. And thank you, everybody that I can't see who's here, but thank you, everybody, for coming on, attending virtually.
And we'll say a very good night to everybody. Good night.